Yo, what is going on, everybody? This is your boy Quinn Skitz0 coming at you again for a first time in a long time, guys. I'm gonna sit here and tell you guys a flippin' story. But first, pack me a dip, Grizzly Dark Winter Green today. If you ain't got one in, pack one with me. If you do, also indulge yourself in some smokeless tobacco. This is basically a brand new can. I've taken like one pinch. Oh, Lord. Oh, God. Cheers, guys. Alright. Yeah. Spinning the Chris Dips 1 roadie. Alright, so, story. I've actually been thinking about this, and I've been thinking about how I got into these tools and everything that most people think are dangerous, but everybody always has one. There's always some in your kitchen. Knives. Telling you the story on how I got into knives. Now, how I got into knives, what I believe started when I was very, very little. You know, I had those little Dollar Tree sets of like the ninjas with the nunchucks and everything. I had the lightsabers. Me and buddies would go out in the backyard and just have a full fight scene, and it was awesome. I loved it. And then I got into watching movies. I got into watching action movies. I got into watching Bruce Lee movies, any sort of martial arts movies like that. Cheers. And so that is why I got into these right here. Now my first knife looked something about like this one right here. You know, it had the little knife, the scissors that are always super hard to freaking get out. The scissors. Now that one lost the spring. I don't know how, the bottle opener and everything like that. It looks something about like this. Pretty sure it's in my little knife collection drawer. Right here. I have that, and actually I'm probably going to do a knife collection video now that I have a new phone and that I can actually record for however the fuck long I want. So, you know, I went from this to little back locks. You know, the lock on the back right here, you can do that number, then and it's good to go. Then I got into, you know, the more tactical. I went through a big spring assisted. Now this one isn't spring assisted, but this just represents them, the spring assisted knives. I still am, but I'm actually looking for an automatic now. I'm in an automatic phase right now, but this represents the automatic knife, the spring assisted, excuse me. Then I went through, oh man, I want to get like one expensive knife and that'll be the rest of it. Most people, this is pretty expensive. I don't think you would spend $110 on a knife, on a tool. But I did. And I freaking love it. This is my favorite knife. If you can't tell in the reflection of that blade, I have my Xbox pulled up on my TV for lighting. It works, man, it works. Yeah, so I went through that, and then I went through the phase of, you know, I want a big tactical Bowie knife. I'm actually getting a Bowie knife sometime soon. And, yeah, I honestly think that is how I got into knives. And also seeing my dad, he always had a knife in his front right pocket because all the times he worked, he had all that. All his jeans were screwed up right here in the front right pocket. I have a couple jeans that are bad. You know, I'll grab those jeans if I have to go out and do some work. If I work. I'll be honest, if I work. But I think that right there is how I got into knives. And it was from movies. It was from my dad. And it was just from me growing up how I did. I always needed a knife. Because, you know, I'd go out in the woods. Well, at the one house I was at, I would go out to, it was a trailer, I'll be honest, it was a trailer. So there was a trailer here, let's say this is a trailer, and then big hill, and then it plateaus off into a couple acres of woods. And I would just go in there, you know, I'd break off a stick, I'd find a stone or rock or something, and I'd just start beating it down to a point, start throwing it in the ground. I was a very, very redneck ingenuitive, yeah, redneck ingenuitive little kid, and that's when I realized, hey man, I need a knife, and I went in there and my mom had one of these, and I was like, hey, can I take this when I go outside and do all this? She's like, yeah, I don't care. So I went out there and I had that. I figured out how to cut first. I cut myself. I was opening and closing it. And of course, you know, this is friction folder. There's no locking mechanism on it. And I didn't know that, and I kind of took it off away from the piece of wood I was cutting. I went down, came down, went under, and hit it on that. And that blade went locking down like that. And it didn't have that little stop right there. And it caught my finger. I freaked the hell out. That's when I found out I love knives. That's when I found out I love these little simple tools. And then now I realize that these aren't very simple. I mean, if you look at them from a certain standpoint, they are very simple. You open it, this little mechanism right here moves back. It's already sitting back. Move this, it pushes it back, and locks forward. It's just a cutout in a blade where it sits. It's pretty. It's pretty simple. It really is. But some of them can get extremely. What's the word I'm trying to think of? Extremely complicated. Like at the fronts, I don't understand how the fuck those work. But assisted automatics, like side opening automatics, I know how those work. This, I know how this works. There's just a coil spring wrapped around this little locking mechanism that puts on. Actually, you can see it right there. You can see right there that little spring right there. It's just like the Benchmade axis lock, except instead of a U spring, I actually almost got a job just for roasting somebody at the Benchmade booth because of this, and I had this knife in my pocket. Yeah, knife works, by the way, if I didn't say that. This is actually... Why did my lighting go dark? I don't like it. Hang on. Okay, so instead of the U spring in Benchmade's axis locks, this is actually more strong because, you know, from opening and closing it and whatever force you put on the blade, it's going to get transferred to that spring. And right when that spring comes down right here, look, right about here is where that, say this meets up with the blade, all the force is put down here, transferred down to right when it curves up to come back on the other side. This spot right here gets all the force. That can break. But with this, how the spring is, you're taking all the shock and it's evenly distributed all the way through this pin. That makes this a stronger lock and more long-lasting lock. You know, it's simple stuff, and I also saw it on a video. I used video knowledge. I don't remember what video it was from, but I did use simple knowledge. And I almost got a job at the age of 15 there. I was sitting there and I was like, well, da-da-da-da-da. He was like, hey, how old are you? I was like, well, I'm only 15. Now I'm 17 now. This was 2 years ago. I've had this knife for 2 years, yeah. So, yeah. And I've always had a fascination of learning how things work. Like, that's why I don't know how to work on a car. I know how to do simple stuff like cosmetic shit. I know how to do that. If it comes to replacing transmissions and all that shit, I don't know how the hell to do that. So I'm trying to learn on that. I'm in carpentry now. I'm getting into carpentry. That's probably going to be my field of work soon. So I'm learning how these houses that we live in are built, how they're maintained, and the processes of building them. So I've always had that fascination on how things are working and come to work. And like even with liner locks, I was so fascinated when I figured out how liner locks work. If you don't know what a liner lock is, it's a liner. It's not part of the frame. There's a tiny little piece of metal right there. That's just pushed down by the blade. Then when this fully actuates, I'll show you right there. That blade kicks in, stops the blade, locks it. Then you gotta push that back to unlock the blade. My mind was fucking blown when I figured out how that worked. Fucking blown. And that's the same thing with frame locks. It's just, instead of that little piece of liner, it's the actual part of the frame. But my mind was blown. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is my story and rambling for 10 minutes. And I apologize for that, but by the way, hopefully you guys like the new intro. New phone, lost my old intro, made a new one. Hope you guys enjoy that. I love it. I think it's badass. So, yeah. As always, ladies and gentlemen, this has been your boy skitz0. Life's short. You gotta keep your knife sharp. Keep dipping your dip and not giving a shit. As always, ladies and gentlemen, I'm out. Peace.